Many hunters call the deer woods a sanctuary, a place to relax and take in the surroundings. But for deer, especially during hunting season, their home is anything but a nice place to relax.
You might not realize it, but the deer woods can be a real pressure cooker.
All hunters think they understand pressure. You may be surprised at the things that pressure a deer.
This is Land of Whitetail TV. If you are a deer hunter and have studied the animal, then you know there are certain ways to tell if a deer feels pressure.
So you probably got a job. At least I hope you have a job, because I'm kind of getting tired of paying other people's taxes. If you have a job, you know coworkers, and you understand their body language, their facial gestures. You know if your coworker's upset at you, even without him talking to you. You know if he's happy with you. Well, deer are the same way. You have to study deer behavior, deer body language. And that's very important whether you're hunting with a bow, a rifle, a muzzleloader, a shotgun, because you gotta know when to take the shot, and you gotta know when to back off and not take a shot, or just leave the deer alone.
It's actually pretty simple what keeps deer away from heavily hunted areas. This is all about survival, and they know when danger is present.
Depending on where you live, coyotes, timber wolves, bear, big cats, but really their main source of pressure are humans. They've learned that we're predators, they're prey, they avoid us. Why? Because it literally is life and death for whitetails. Human pressure has more of an impact on whitetails than any other predator out there.
For many hunters, there is little they can do to remove pressure factors near their stands. Studies have shown deer stay away from stands that have been hunted longer than unoccupied areas.
But did you ever think of other deer? How deer live on the landscape might be one of the biggest pressures that deer feel throughout the year. How is this? When deer are living on a landscape beyond their means, beyond the land's capacity, this puts enormous pressure on deer. And you might ask yourself, Dan, okay, how do deer pressure other deer? It's very easy. Think about it this way. Think about your house with your normal family. You have a 4-person house, you have a 4-person family, and now you put 20 people in there. Gets a little cramped, doesn't it? Same thing with deer. Deer live on the land the same way chickens live in a coop. There's a pecking order that needs to be figured out, and when you have too many deer out there, they get stressed out, and you will see this in their behavior when you hunt them.
All weather affects deer to some degree, and it's important to know how that weather affects deer. A good example, last year I hunted in Kansas during December. It was 70 degrees during the day, and it had a huge effect on what the deer were doing. The bucks are basically shut down during the day. So the only thing that we could do, the only way that we could remain hunting and remain effective, is to hunt that first couple hours in the morning and then the last couple hours in the evening. Really, it didn't pay to be out there any longer than that because the deer simply weren't moving. They were being pressured by that warm weather.
You know, when you look around here in this area in Kansas, in southern Kansas, it's easy to understand why it's become such a big buck mecca. I mean, all the ingredients for growing big deer are here, but you really need to help that along. And a lot of the outfitters, you know, they'll really encourage their hunters to take adult, matured bucks, you know, 4.5 years and older. The only way you're going to grow those big bucks is by passing on smaller bucks. So that's what people come here for. That's what people pay to come here for, is the opportunity to shoot a large, mature whitetail.
Land of Whitetail is brought to you by Cuddy back, more deer, fewer blanks. Analogics, protect your herd with the power of science. Thompson Center, America's master gunmakers. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. And by Scent Killer Gold with Hunt Dry technology. Apply, dry it, and go hunt.
Deer aren't the only thing experiencing pressure out there in the field. You are too! Yeah, you've had it. I know you have. It's buck fever, and if you haven't had it, then you might as well take up golf. Buck fever is the thing that makes us come back to hunting time and time again. That charge, that adrenaline rush, that factor that makes us miss once in a while and maybe even wet our pants. But forget that. You're gonna get control over this. Sure, you can do it with the Penn's undergarments, but a better way to get control over your buck fever is to practice. Know your weapon just like it's the back of your hand, back of my hand right there, and shoot a lot of does. That's right, culling does, hunting does is an excellent way to get your grip on buck fever. The more times you drop the string on your Matthews bow or pull the trigger, send a Hornady bullet downrange, the better off you're gonna be controlling all of that energy coming into you in the form of adrenaline. And next time you get on a really big buck, well, you'll have it tamed some, hopefully not too much, because again, that's why we all go hunting, for that huge, big rush at the end.
If you are a deer hunter and you really study the animal, then you know there are certain ways to tell if they feel pressured.
Those kind of set the tone for whitetail activities. When does are hitting the food plots, the food sources, when they're moving freely hours before dark, that gives Mr. Big a source of calm. The does are doing it. They're not running all over the woods with their tails up snorting. Therefore, it's safe for me as well. Take your pressure on does every bit as seriously as you do on bucks. Keep it low.
There may not be many chances to watch deer while they are on edge. They may be on the move or very wary. Dan Schmidt is in Southwest Texas with the chance to hunt a nice whitetail in an area where the deer do not see a ton of pressure from hunters.
You might think South Texas, oh, that's a walk in the park. It's not. These deer are pressured not only from hunters, but like I said, from other deer. And it doesn't have to be the sheer number of deer on the landscape. It could be the sheer number of bucks on the landscape or the sheer number of mature bucks on the landscape. And that's what we were after, and that's what made it a little bit difficult. So I'm hunting with my good friends Steve and Michelle Anderson in South Texas near El Dorado. They have a fabulous piece of property. Wild deer. This isn't a high fence. Forget about that. There's a lot of wild deer in Texas, and that's what we were hunting. And we're hunting particular bucks. We were hunting management bucks, but we were hunting mature bucks that were maybe past their prime. It took us a while to find some. You see a lot of deer. No matter where you go, in most places in Texas, you're gonna see a lot of deer and you're gonna see a lot of bucks. That's why I love hunting there. I mean, you get to see not only deer, but you get to see bucks, you get to see them interact. We saw bucks fighting, we saw other ones sparring, we saw bucks chasing does, we saw it all. And what was so cool about it was on this property, we could hop from stand to stand and see different things, different bucks, all in the same trip. So it wasn't all rosy. We knew a big storm was coming in, and it was bringing with it a ton of rain. So the clock was kind of ticking on us. We didn't have the luxury to sit and wait for several days to shoot a deer that maybe we wanted to hold out for. We had to get a deer in front of us right away. So Billy Bob, he's the head guide there, he said, Dan, let's take you to a stand that you hunted last time. I was all for it. Next sit. Guess how excited I'm getting, because it's the same stand where I shot my big buck from 4 years ago. All those memories are flooding back. I'm thinking about how we sat there, and it was cold. That was in December 4 years ago, and I remember how the deer used that area. We studied it. You know, there was a little draw that came up to the feed area. That's where the deer came from. Well, deer are coming in, deer are leaving, and you almost kind of get confused after a while when you're seeing 20 or 30 deer per sit, which is really, really cool, I might add. But so I'm sitting there, I'm kind of concentrated on some deer in front of us when just out of the corner of my eye, I see an antler tip. And it's not just any antler tip, it is a very long, white, monster of an antler, and I think it was the G3 that I saw first on this buck.
This deer just showed up. This is what they call buck fever, and I'm gonna try to get control of myself here.
Got my composure, took a couple deep breaths, and when the opportunity presented itself, this buck walks, he's quartering away, he pauses.
Man! Oh my gosh. I am just shaking. That adrenaline just gets into you right now, You could probably hear my heart beating. I mean, I have this microphone right here, and my heart was beating so hard. Every time he picked his head up, my heart is beating hard. And, we're sitting here. The nice thing about hunting in Texas is you see deer. It's not like I'm sitting up north watching the woods and not seeing a deer for 11 straight hours. I mean, we have does, we have fawns, we have young bucks, we have bucks sparring in front of us. He is a giant. Oh, wow, what a buck. Oh gosh, look at this deer buck. What a deer, what a deer, what a deer. Oh, 6, is he 6? Let's see. Oh, look at this, he's got velvet. He's still got some velvet on there. Holy mackerel, look at the tines on this thing.
Coming up next.
What did Yogi Berra say? He said it's like deja vu all over again. That's what this was like.
I think he's probably 5.5 or 6.5 years old. He's definitely a mature animal.
Because this buck came from the exact same spot that my buck from 4 years ago came from.
This is Land of Whitetail TV.
Scouting. It's important for finding travel patterns, seeing where the deer are feeding, and setting up your ambush opportunities later on. But it's also a good time to study deer behavior, natural behavior, the characteristics that you need to know when you're getting ready to take a shot, and to understand if the deer in your property are just too spooked, if you need to back off a little bit. That's why glassing them from afar, using your Nikon, sitting on the county road and watching is a good way to spend a summer evening, an early fall evening, and even mid-fall. Say you're just trying to figure out where the deer are and you're having a tough time on the tree stands you set up before, back off a day, do a little bit of scouting. Not only will it help you with an ambush opportunity, you'll be able to understand deer behavior just a little bit more.
It goes back to the old saying of, to hunt deer, you need to know deer. If you have an opportunity to watch deer in their natural environment, it's going to make you a better hunter. If you spend any time in the deer woods, a good hunter can tell when the pressure is mounting. Movements, different patterns, feeding habits, all can change during the hunting season. But you can take steps to beat the pressure.
You don't let them smell you. You don't let them see you. You don't spook them. I know it's more complicated than that. In the big picture, but really, it's that simple.
Texas can be one of the most high-pressure places to hunt in the United States. Much of the state is high fence, and the deer can be on edge all the time. But there are pockets of land where whitetails feel safe, where landowners work to make it an area conducive for deer to stick around.
Our supplemental feed program is we feed 20% protein starting in January to push the deer through the spring. And then we kind of pull it back to 16% protein in the summer months.
So we get up in the stand and everything is pretty much how I remember it, except last time we were here, it was scorched earth. They were under the worst drought in Texas history. This time was much different. It was much more beautiful. The mesquites looked gorgeous. Everything looked great. And here come the deer. This storm's coming in. It's a little hazy. It's kind of hard to see, but it's getting light out. Put up my Nikons. I can see deer filtering through the bottom here. And I can see some bucks coming through. And it just took me a little bit of time to focus. And man, there is a beautiful buck standing there right in front of us, about 75 yards away. So he comes through. He's not really in a hurry. He's feeding. He's taking his time. There's other deer running around, some small bucks running in and out, some does running in and out. But I'm just intently focused on this buck. He would have been a huge 8-pointer. He's missing a brow tine. Just a perfect buck to take out on this day. but I had to be sure. So I kept classing him. Yeah, he's a good deer. He's a good deer. You know, it's getting light out even more. I can see him.
Okay, Dad, I think he's fixing to jump out of that feed pen.
And I just waited for him to get in that perfect position to where I could make a perfect shot.
Got him. Right there, got him. He's down right there.
Great shot.
He's down, hold on a second, hold on. He's down, yes. Yes, all right.
Bud. Fantastic. We had just a small window. He punched his ticket.
Here's the kicker. He dropped dead in the exact same spot as my big buck from a few years earlier. God, I love Texas. So we're walking up on this deer, and everybody's happy. I mean, we've got smiles on our faces. We got done what we came down here to do. You can't do this back home, and we got it done on a pressured deer. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Oh man, that is a nice buck.
Beautiful animal.
That is a dandy. He has got mass. Hang on, I'm always safety conscious here. Gun's unloaded.
I don't think he's all the way rubbed out yet.
No, look at this. He's got little pieces of velvet still. And here we are, it's end of October. He's got a ripped deer from fighting.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Busted brow tine.
Yeah, he's a stud though, man.
I'm telling you, look at the mass all the way through the main beam. Tine.
Yeah, look at this, it's like almost palmated.
Yeah,
here.
it is.
It's not only deer that get pressured, we get pressured. We put pressure on ourselves to be successful fast, to put in on not much work and kill a big deer. We put that pressure on ourselves, but we also let pressure affect us. We go out to a stand that we probably shouldn't be hunting, and then we look at our watch and we think of everything at that home that's going on, and then we might leave the stand a little bit early, or we might take a shortcut in the woods. That's going to affect our success, and that pressure is what's going to do us in the end.
Coming up next, perfecting your setup in growing big and what you should be doing right now to get ready for the season. This is Land of Whitetail TV. Land of Whitetail is brought to you by Cuddyback, more deer, fewer blanks. Analogics, protect your herd with the power of science. Thompson Center, America's master gunmakers. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. And by Scent Killer Gold with Hunt Dry technology. Apply, dry it, and go hunt.
Habitat managers, they really tend to focus on summer and fall. Putting in your spring food plots, putting in your fall food plots, that's when our work is. If you're really gonna do it right, winter is when you can get the majority of the stuff done that you really shouldn't be doing in summer. Now's when you work on access. You work on getting those access roads in, so that edge access when it works for your property, so you can have really low impact access getting in and out. Now is a fantastic time to get into those sanctuaries and tear them apart. So many people believe you shouldn't go into sanctuaries. That's baloney. You should, you just want to minimize it during season. But if you don't get into those sanctuaries and tear them apart, how do you know what improvements those sanctuaries need? You know, how are they getting in and out? What are they doing inside there? Those are all clues that you can use for hunting. This is a perfect time to do chainsaw work. If you want to do major logging operations, the logging equipment doesn't tear up your woods anywhere near as much. Hinge cutting work, your tree survival rates are going to be so much higher. Blockade work, by the time hunting season comes, they will have adapted to these changes. Winter is really your money time as a habitat improvement specialist.
If you're spending a lot of your time shooting from the bench, you're probably killing a lot of paper, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be killing a lot of deer this fall. I think a lot of guys are content to sight in their rifle from the bench, punch a few groups, and then call it a day. They don't seem to realize it could cost them big if they're forced to take a shot in the field from a position they haven't practiced. While hunting, you should always try to use a shooting aid, such as shooting sticks, backpack, even a tree, anything to stabilize your firearm. But there will be times when you have to act quickly and shoot without the aid of a rest, and that's why it's so important to master the various shooting positions with and without a rest, and then practice them at the range. The closer you are to the ground, the more stable your shooting position. So if visibility allows, the best option is prone, followed by sitting, kneeling, and standing. Here's a tip. Practice with the rifle you're going to be shooting this fall. For me, it's Mossberg's new Patriot. To shoot from the prone position, lie on your stomach with your body slightly to the left and your back straight. Your legs should be in a relaxed, spread position. Both elbows should be bent and your shoulders curved slightly forward to form a solid upper body position. For sitting, position your body about 30 degrees to the right and place the left elbow near, but not on the bony part of the left knee. Tucking the elbow as far under the rifle as possible. Place the right elbow on or near the right knee, forming two triangles to firmly support the rifle. For kneeling, line up at a 45-degree angle to the target and lower your body so that the right knee touches the ground and place your left foot forward. Sit comfortably on the heel or side of the right foot and place the left elbow near but not on the bony part of the left knee. When standing, position your body 90 degrees to the right of the target with your feet shoulder width apart. Support the rifle with your left arm, holding it against your body for extra support. Hold the rifle firmly against your shoulder with the right hand. I can tell you one thing for sure, you're not going to find one of these in the deer woods next fall. And that's why it's so important to get away from the bench and practice those money shots that are going to make you a better hunter.
Be sure to check deer and deer hunting out online and on Facebook.